A lot of entry-level jobs are at risk right now.
People will learn in their universities and can apply when they join a company.
What do you think about Cliff? Is it a good name, Amit?
Kind of amount you might have spent in the schools, colleges, and universities, you could simply buy an island, and you might be standing on that cliff.
By one standard, China's quantum computer was able to solve one problem in a microsecond, which according to that Chinese research would have taken 1 trillion years on standard computer.
You'll probably go back in the dinosaur age if you're not adopting to the new tech.
If you're streaming Netflix, your traditional computer is going to be faster.
But is this person bringing something extra to the table, right?
This is AI plus man situation.
Which means you can break the bank.
Called ABCD of life. And I'll go back to what I said.
You're not going to lose jobs because of AI. You're going to lose job to a person who knows AI.
What are the 10 prompts you could do start of the day to ease out your day?
But for some reason, companies thought that they are cheating.
Hey everyone, welcome back. This is the third and final episode for the Dad Download. We survived toddlers, we survived teenagers, and now we are standing at the edge of the cliff. It's the university / the people who are going to join the workforce, the college goers, it's the 18 to 24 kids. What do you think about Cliff? Is it a good name, Amit?
Ansh, first of all, thank you for having us. And trust me, all the previous two discussions already loved it. And I'm really looking forward to this one. It's a very interesting term you have picked up, cliff. If I think about cliff, it seems like I'm already sitting on the edge. The kind of amount you might have spent in the schools, colleges, and universities, you could simply buy an island, and you might be standing on that cliff. But yeah, it's a very nice name, Ansh, to start with, and looking forward to our discussions here. Thank you.
Amazing. Viraj, imagine the expensive degrees / certificates / trainings, like what's going on in the world where we are seeing a lot of progress in AI. You working in Google are seeing it firsthand. Do you think our kids' degree is still relevant, or do you think that it's becoming a bit obsolete?
I wouldn't say the degree is becoming obsolete. I think the course has to be updated. What they are teaching in the universities, in the colleges has to be updated. For example, when I completed my computer engineering, I had a subject called compiler constructions, which I never used, right? And I'm sure there are such subjects right now in engineering, which has to change. It has to change at a much faster pace than it had to when I was studying, with AI coming into the picture. What AI will do in the future is coding for you. But as an engineer, you'll have to see whether the code is correct, whether it is designed in a right way, whether it is maintainable or not. So those are the things which will still add a value in the foreseeable future. And that is something that people will learn in their universities and can apply when they join a company.
That's really good, Viraj. Amit, I know you've worked in Citibank. A lot of things are happening in the FS industry. We're also seeing, and based on my personal experience in the professional services industry, the big fours, what is happening is a lot of entry-level jobs are at risk right now. You might have seen some layoff news all across the world. The layoffs are primarily targeted to low-skilled, repetitive tasks, mostly things like research analyst, data analyst. And that's exactly how we started a career with, right? Like, so if a person who is, let's say, in college, starting off, and these are the areas where, a lot of layoffs are happening, what do we really do? And like, how does somebody like a 23, 24-year-old start their career when this is the area which is getting chopped off because of AI?
Thank you for bringing that up, Ansh. And it's a very crucial junction of, let's say, someone's life. So these youngsters, they are gonna jump into a real world now. Right? They'll be earning their bread and butter now, right? So we as a parent, we know that now they're gonna be on their own in their autopilot. So they need to learn ABC of their life. So I have this acronym ABC. They need to adapt. They need to adapt. They need to constantly adapt to all the changes, what's happening around them. Viraj nicely put down, the AI, about how could they use AI to enhance their career. We know that yes, the jobs at junior level are at a risk, and this is where they need to balance it. So they need to balance their curriculum in such a way that they're not just learning just the technical aspect, but also how nicely they are bringing the emotional quotient into that, right? This is how they need to balance it. So understand who will survive. It's a race of survival. How do you still keep and stay relevant in those roles? That is what they need to understand. And one thing what I can suggest is communication. So what they need to learn is how to adapt to all these changes in situation, how to stay relevant, how to balance these scenarios, and the communication, and you will float through. But every time, if I have to go and hire someone, what do I see? What does this person brings to me in the table? There are machines there are codes, modules, and they can do a lot of jobs, entry level jobs for me. But is this person bringing something extra to the table? And that extra is what you need to think about. And this is where your AI won't help, is the emotional quotient. So I think you need to think about the human aspect of what you could bring onto the table. So let's say if you're going ahead and discussing a deal with a client, you could offer him a lot of many things, but can you convince him to sign a deal? Can you negotiate the deal? So those are some of the quality and skills they need to learn along with their modules and curriculums, which would help them survive in this race, and not only survive but flourish in their career.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, that's a really good point, Amit. We have to learn to work with AI. This is not just AI versus man situation. This is AI plus man situation.
Absolutely. Very nicely put that, Viraj. I'm already loving it. It's AI plus man. Wow. It's so amazing, right? And the way you said it, man, it's not man versus AI. It is kind of man plus AI. And we don't want to be, this, I would really want to call it as human plus AI, right? So
that's right.
And this one Greek mythological character that comes to my mind when I think of this is the Centaur, where you've got this character where it's half human and half horse, stronger than a human and faster than a horse.
You can actually draw parallels with what was happening before, right? When we came out of college, there were companies that were not allowing Google and Stack Overflow to look out for answers. And I couldn't believe it. Like, some companies can do that. It is just going to make your workforce faster. But for some reason, companies thought that they're cheating. And that is the mentality, that we have to first get rid of. And now, instead of Google and Stack Overflow, people are using AI. They are just going to be more and more productive. And that's a great thing. So people shouldn't be averse of AI. They should adopt AI.
It's very well said. And I think the equivalent comparison at this moment is like banning ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok or any of these tools in, let's say, in college, right? That's something which the university students should build and use as a foundation, and then kind of further kind of create and make use of the tools, right? I think if you ban it, you're completely eliminating that angle, and obviously you'll probably go back in the dinosaur age if you're not adopting to the new tech. It happened with us where like for instance google.com wasn't allowed where back in the early 2000s for research purposes. You have to do your own research without searching through Wikipedia. And something similar is going to happen if you ban these frontier models.
Absolutely.
And in fact, I'll go on and add one more. So when I was in university, right, we had this very, I always call it a very nice project. So we had a portfolio of virtual money we were given. And because we were learning finance, we were like, all right, go ahead, maintain your portfolio. It's free word. Imagine that you are a portfolio manager. Now, whatever you do with your portfolio, after 30 days, we'll see whose portfolio has grown. So what you virtually doing is, it's a project. You are given, the right amount of sort of instruments, and you just go and play. Now replace that with AI. We go and, universities or institutes like that, they should just say, all right, leverage all the possible avenues available or the resources available, and then let's see what you can do with that, how best you can leverage it to prosper in life, or to do certain project. Let's see who comes the best, and this is what you need to do, because it's a partnership. How well you complement the AI information and you add in your value to come up with the best product. So that it's like how well you complement those two things and come up as a winner. I think that's how you're gonna survive, and you could make the best out of it.
Super. All right. So let's level up the difficulty, right? Let's go on. Let's move on from AI. We're also hearing things like quantum computing. And in fact, Viraj, Google is the first one who says that they're kind of quantum ready. They're also hearing about advanced AI capabilities. Like you've got AGI coming up pretty soon. And sometimes it's not clear what AGI means, because for some companies AGI is 5 years away, for others it's 25-30 years away, and for somebody who is who's a dad, and you've got kids, or is basically a student who's in college, what do we do? Can you explain this in a layman's language about AGI, quantum, the future, and how do we prepare for it?
Sure, yeah. I'll start with quantum. It's closer to my heart. It's an amazing concept. But if I have to explain it in a lay human terms, so in any repetitive task, let's say you're doing a research. Let's take example of Thomas Edison, who tried to invent a light bulb, right? And he famously quoted that, "I did not fail 1,000 times. I just learned that there are 1,000 ways in which I can't build a light bulb," right? So he had to go through those trial and error methods. And we do that in every research. Whenever we run an algorithm, let's say I want to determine that my car has to go from city 1 to city 2. What is the best route? Google Maps, for example, would do something like that, right? So it will try all the possible routes and then pick the one which is the fastest route. In traditional computers, we pick one path, we evaluate how good or bad it is. If it is bad, we come back and then pick the other path. But with quantum, all these paths can be explored in parallel.
Oh, wow.
And that's why it is so fast. And just to give an idea how fast quantum computations can be for certain problems, it's not fast for everything. For example, if you are streaming Netflix, your traditional computer is going to be faster. But for quantum computers, for complex problems like finding the right path between two cities, if it is 2 times faster, we'll say it is 2x, right? If it is 5 times, we'll say 5x. If it is 10 times, we'll say 10x. If it is 1,000 times faster, we'll say 10 raised to 3 times faster. Quantum computers for complex problems can be 10 raised to 32 times faster than our traditional computers.
Oh my gosh. So there's no longer a 1-0 kind of a binary logic, because I think it has some sort of different bit algorithm. And so is that something which is going to change decision making for the future, right? So somebody who's, let's say, like you said about example of going from point A to point B is a pretty simple Google Maps example, but it could be, there's so many applications of that. Maybe should I buy this particular stock? Yes or no? That's also a decision you have to make, right? It could be as complicated as some space kind of technologies where you're thinking about, okay, if I need to go from here to there, and it's space. I think that's where you might have some applications. So that's amazing. 10 raised to the power 32.
It is unbelievable. So by one standard, China's quantum computer was able to solve one problem in a microsecond, which according to that Chinese research would have taken 1 trillion years on standard computer.
Oh my gosh, because I'm a bit scared now, because that's going to break. So I've done a CISSP and I've learned about RSA algorithms and encryption and all that stuff. And it's going to break encryption because some of this encryption is designed in a way where it takes millions and millions of years to crack the code. But if a quantum does it, if it's taking a microsecond to do it, then you can, the 256-bit encryption, RSA, AES, advanced encryption standards will no longer work, I believe.
Yeah. They are already thinking about, there is a term in industry which says post-quantum encryption. They are already thinking about how to encrypt in the quantum world, because techies are thinking about quantum computing right now. cryptography is the first problem that will get impacted significantly. It will just not be a problem anymore because people will be able to break the code within seconds, if not microseconds.
Which means you can break the bank, you can break the trust of who's sending it, which is quite dangerous as well. At the same time, quite exciting. So, it depends on how we apply it. Finance, Amit. Citibank is doing wonders. I'm sure the whole banking world is generally risk averse. That's what I've seen as far as my experience has been. Tech has always been front runners in terms of adopting newer technologies, including AI. How is the big banks handling it? Are you seeing some sort of AI adoption, and is that leading to potential use cases or changes in the way job structures, or the reorgs? We did talk about early careers being affected, but is there any other impact in big financial service institutions?
Absolutely, Ansh. You know what? The financial sector is not behind. They might not be a pioneer of it, right? But they're not behind. As you know, right? Financial sector heavily invest into technology. So, yes, a lot of banks and a lot of financial institutions, they are building their own AI modules as well. They are partnering with the existing modules as well, just to, cater their request and just to customize it based on their request. Now, in fact, there are certain banks which are working on in-house as well as outside the internet as well. So there are a few modules they're working on, and yes, it would impact. So going back to your question, right, it is impacting. So what we have seen, and when I sit down for a quick chat with my friends within our fraternity, right, and we all discuss about it, that yes, everybody or every team is being asked, go and have a look into your day-to-day work, how AI could help you. What are the 10 prompts you could do start of the day to ease out your day? How AI could help you? And how this information is going to help is, where is that sort of an opportunity where we could try and reduce the headcount. Let's remember that. I'll go back to my earlier question, the answer I gave you. Every sort of a big bank is trying to be leaner. They want to be simpler, and the best way to be leaner and simpler is through AI. How much of that repetitive work, data heavy work, analysis work, which is very sort of a junior role type of work, can be done by AI? And there are use cases which are helping them to save hours and hours, and we're not talking about just hours, these are man hours. And so remember one thing, a company would generally think about it, they would invest heavily when they know there is a return, and then now they're yielding those returns. So I think they're going to invest even more. So yes, two parts. One, they are investing, and yes, the returns are there. And in fact, there is a risk, but I will go back to my earlier topic, that there is a risk, guys, but there's always going to be jobs. So there's always going to be, it's just about how do you prepare yourself, how do you adapt to those situations and do changes in the current market, in the current scenario. So yes, there is a risk, but I'm sure there's an opportunity as well.
Wow. So I think there's, like you said, the one industry and one tangible thing which might affect, and I think we're all seeing the use case and the application, is the industry of call centers, business process outsourcing. And I think almost all the services or the products that were being provided in the West used, or had call centers in India or Vietnam or Philippines, and some maybe on like, in the US or the Europe, like some presence, but majority was there in these countries, in South Asian countries. And because of the advantages of cost and others, I think we are seeing there's an 80% drop in the usage of call centers, just because we've got chatbots who can do majority of these conversations. Some of the conversations, they're doing it better than humans. In some conversations, they're struggling. So there's an 80-20 principle, the Pareto's principle, where, I think the chatbots, because they're handling 80% of the traffic and they're doing it so well, leaving a really strong impression, in the person. Imagine somebody calling for a complaint and it gets resolved in like 10, 20, 30 seconds. No more wait times, 10, 15, 20 minutes of hold. That's such a pain to reach, to connect to a human. and now you can just do over text. And I also feel like people these days don't feel like talking. Like if you see generally as well, like especially like people are actually not talking with their friends. They generally prefer to text their friends than pick up the phone and talk. Why would somebody want to talk to a random person in a support center, right? So if that can be done over text, much simpler, easy, straightforward, feels a light touch. If the problem is getting resolved, it'll leave a better satisfaction. And that's why companies are dialing up on it and investing so much money in these, and they're ramping up all the chatbots and spending so much money on it. And this is affecting the whole industry. Now imagine the IT industry, which is such a big employer. Viraj, I'm sure Google is using a lot of AI to kind of code and do all the coding through its kind of Gemini and other tools. Microsoft itself is using GitHub and all the ChatGPT and other kind of investments they have done in AI to power the coding. Are you seeing the IT industry in India also getting impacted because of this? We're seeing the stocks not moving up. We've seen the financial implication. But what's happening on the ground? We have seen a little bit of layoffs, but I don't know if maybe they're not hiring as much as they used to do. But what do you think, Viraj? What's going on in the IT industry?
Adaptability is the key here. If we don't adapt, if the IT industry in India do not adopt, then I think they are bound to fail. The examples that I took earlier, that Google is not allowed, Stack Overflow is not allowed. They were in the IT companies in India, especially the service-oriented companies. They have to adopt. They really have to. If they don't, then, it's doomed. There's no question about that.
Ansh, it's not just the IT industry. Let's think about what we have seen as a trend that, and coming back from finance background, a lot of finance centers have also come up, right, across the India. A lot of banks are investing heavily there. So take a use case. If I'm a business head, I wanted to know about my revenue numbers. How much did I make as a revenue? I'll go and ask my finance person. He'll run a report. He'll come back to me in few hours, or and then when I look into the report, I'll say, all right, can you give me in this report what were the credit ratings? Then he goes back, he runs another report. Think about having a chat box. I do a prompt, it returns me the number. I give him another prompt, it gives him another number. Then, and you could just, it's like chatting on the go, and all right, okay, I've got all the information available. I could make my decision. And this is what is helping all these FIs to invest heavily, because they could see the impact right there at the same desk. They could see how helpful it is, right? An information flow which was taking starting from few hours to few days, now it's there in their fingertip. They could just make quick decisions. So, but I always think, even though everything is available, but if you think about human angle, that is always going to be there, right? So I 100% agree with Viraj that adaptability and bringing out your sort of the human side of it would help.
I want to take finance industry and one example with quantum. Anybody who has traded stocks knows what backtesting is, right? We pick a strategy in our head. We go through last 6 months, 12 months, and see how my strategy would have worked for a given number of stocks. So let's say if you have 3 strategies in mind, if you want to run it for all the stocks in NYSE or NSE or London Stock Exchange, imagine how much time it will take. Obviously, manually it will take months, if not years. On a computer, you have to write a program, execute it. It will take hours. In quantum, it will take a microsecond. In microsecond, you will know which strategy works, and you can just start making money.
Oh, wow. This is where knowledge is power, right? And I think if you look at, there's obviously, you can be pessimistic that, there's going to be layoffs, job crisis and all of this stuff. But also at the other end of the curve, there's so much optimism. There's a significant amount of investments that top, tech companies are doing. We recently saw Microsoft investing billions in India. Google just announced something really massive. Amazon, in fact, also is investing in a big way. So I think the top tech companies understand that is going to be, India is going to be front and center for AI, especially from the human perspective, right? Where you have the engineers, you have all the acumen. You just need to give them, access to tools, and they can do wonders for these companies, right? We're also seeing global capability centers, GCCs, being set up in a big way, which is a massive change, right? Initially it was the TCS and the Tech Mahindra and the Infosys and all of these big IT players, Wipros, who were kind of driving a lot of IT services related work. Now the big banks have understood, why does JP Morgan needs to outsource to TCS? So I know they could create its own mega GCC in India and directly hire people in their own companies, which is leading to a big boom in GCC. So that could be another area where our audience can see and get jobs. In fact, they pay much better and you have got better roles in these companies. IT services industry will have to play a bit of catch up, and will have to, like you said, Viraj, earlier, will have to, in this case, adopt newer technologies, maybe pivot, and maybe do some significant investments in the newer technologies, and basically change their whole business strategies. It's no longer about cheap labor. It's about bringing tech transformation in front and center, right? So I think that's going on overall. But as a dad, and as somebody who is in college, maybe a couple, I would say 2 each, let's start with you, Amit. What is the advice that you're going to give to a dad who has, let's say, and I know at this age parents do not play as much of a role as they play when kids are toddlers, but still they are mentors. They play a very subtle role. They might shape your children's their children's career. So as a dad, what is the sort of advice you're going to give? And I'm sure a lot of children are kind of quite tensed and struggling to get jobs. So consider the tense environment as well. What is the piece of advice that you're going to hand over?
A great question. There's no simple answer to it. But what I have learned, and purely from my experience, because see, as a dad, you're gonna take a step back and just let them navigate through. You're gonna watch them from the distance. So I think I've got a very simple formula in my head. It's called ABCD of life, and I'll go back to what I said. So I think and this is a very simple thing. They need to learn, understand. If they could master these particular 4 terms, they're gonna survive, and they're gonna stay relevant, and they're gonna be happy in their life. Again, it's just a very simple formula. You need to adapt. You need to learn how to adapt to any situation, any scenarios. And we are in this world where, the pace of change is too much. Everything is changing in like months and days and years. So you cannot stay constant in one particular scenario. You need to learn how to adapt. Second, B. Now, B is for balance, or you wanna call it, that how do you balance your thing, right? And this is where I say that they need to build, either balance or build. They need to build their network. They need to build their relations. They need to build their skill sets, which is constantly evolving. And then again, see, we have talked about starting from 0 till 10 till 18. All those C's still apply, but the big C for this age group, or when you step into life, is going to be communication. Your communication makes life much easier. It's going to help you every part of your life. And then the final is D. D is for discipline. We generally say it, and this is where I would like to call out a couple of things. We say this, but I mean it, that health is wealth. Let's talk about these. You need to have a discipline around your health. You need to have a discipline around your wealth. When I say wealth, we talked about it. This should be a financial awareness. They need to learn how to implement that discipline in that financial education. So a long answer, but if I have to say it, they just need to follow ABCD in their life.
Fabulous. Love it. Viraj, what about, how do you it's going to be, Amit has set the bar too high, but I know you're going to break that bar. So top 2 advices from you, the techie.
I want to challenge everybody who are just graduating and ask them a question. How many times have you tried quantum algorithm? These things are available. You can actually log into IBM quantum machine, run your program and see the output. And it doesn't cost much. So how long are we just going to blame TCS and Infosys and all these great companies who made their mark, right? And how long are we going to depend on them? It's time for you to learn quantum mechanics and maybe start your own company and compete with these big folks. So that's my challenge to the students. And my advice to the parents would be, let them try these things out. Please don't just focus on job. Maybe they will be an entrepreneur now in India. It's a very upcoming domain in India. And being an entrepreneur is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. So let them try. Don't focus on jobs. They might be able to lead a happier life if they are an entrepreneur and might still make more money.
Awesome. That's really, really good. Just to summarize, I think I've got so much from the conversations, and thanks Amit and Viraj, and key takeaways. And feel free to add to this. The one thing that I really, really liked, and this is just my kind of analysis and my summary, is we're still the pilots. The plane might be faster and scarier because of the conversations we had, but it still needs a human to decide where to go. Now, quantum can help you make it faster. AI is making a bit scarier or making the whole answer faster, but it's still in your hands. You still need the plane still needs a pilot. Be that pilot. We learned about ABCD, so thanks Amit for that. But I would say adaptability is the new degree.
Yeah.
Forget about formal degrees. Adaptability is the new one. So those are two big ones. The safe skill sets which still kind of can thrive are things like complex problem solving, making sure that you're still making some ethical judgments, because I think that's something AI would still struggle. AI is rule based, so it can't decide, especially when there's a little bit of ethics involved, or you have to decide between two edge case scenarios. You still need a human, because then you've got nuances, layers, and you have to figure out what the overall objective is. Interpersonal skills, communication was an important C in the ABCD, so I think that's important. B, which is build your skills and nurture it, adopt faster. All these newer technologies, and D is so important, because you can't have all this until you have the discipline to. So I think discipline is something which is like a foundational layer. And initially, I think we spoke about the Centaur, the human plus machine combination. We need to be that. I think it's going to be an age where it's not going to be the person. You're not going to lose jobs because of AI. You're going to lose job to a person who knows AI. So I'm going to end at that. This is the final episode of the DAT download. It's the launchpad, episode 3, targeted towards college goers, dads who have children from the age of 18 to 24. And it's been an incredible experience, and hearing from the financial guru Amit and the tech guru Viraj, thank you for all the inputs. It's been just mind-blowing, and hopefully I've given. I think we definitely need like an updated version of this, because who knows, 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, we need a series 2.0 of the same, parenting in the AI age, because the age is changing so fast. And we need to also evolve and maybe have an updated version.